Well, I think it's about time to make a video about something super deep and super disturbing and something that's going on here today. Uh, it's the documentary 20 Days in Mariupol. Now, as a person who's from the West and completely devoid from these types of realities, it's extremely fucked up to see on a day-to-day basis there being an active war going on where people are getting blown up and things are breaking down all around them. But you know what? It's an important way to look at things because as we live in the West, we become so desensitized to the way that the fucking world works, and this documentary really highlights the way that this is, and just kind of the messed up nature of how people just kind of sit back and generally in the West not really give a fuck, and it's weird and it's human nature, but also needs to be talked about. Now, in case you were living in North Sentinel Island for the last 2 years, you had realized that there's a massive war going on in the Europe right now between Russia and Ukraine. And without going into the major parts of it, it's simply just basically conquering another nation in our modern era. And the worst part of it all comes from the fact that Russia has enough nukes to turn us all into glass few times over. So, I mean, before we get into the basics of this all, let's just talk about pure military strategy here. I mean, they are going to conquer Ukraine. The war is probably not going to be in Ukraine's favor, even with continued Western support. Russia just has a superior military, and if it ever came to it, they would resort to nuclear weapons, guaranteed, because nuclear weapons are the most strongest weapons on Earth by a very, very large margin. Whatever bullshit you hear in the Western media, I mean, it's basically fairly obvious to the people who have any sort of military knowledge that, yeah, Ukraine is going to be conquered. Its resources are all going to be taken, and most of its population is going to be changed to a pro-Russian centered mindset or ideology, and they're doing it by force. And it's something happening in the modern age that people thought only happened in history. And since it's happening there, it's guaranteed to continue happening, and hopefully the nuclear button never gets pressed. Although Putin seems extremely forward on using rhetoric centered around nuclear weapons, and for good reason. I mean, it's simply the strategic ace in the hole. The only thing was mutually assured destruction with the US is the only thing keeping things in balance for the moment. But world leaders are proving ever increasingly willing to use the nuclear card. And not even Tucker Carlson could save us from 20 Days in Mariupol, a documentary, an Academy Award winning, might I add, at this point, documentary about the daily lives of these people. And at first, it has this bizarre facade of almost acting, but I mean, you can't make these props up. This is fucking reality. And when you see it, you get a deep emotional human connection to what you're seeing, which is something that special effects and makeup and acting just simply can't convey. Now, was this documentary somewhat filmed in a way, directed in a way, presented in a way that is very sad, very harrowing, and very um, pro-Ukrainian? Absolutely. But it basically highlights the willingness of the West to just kind of sit back and let these atrocities happen. I mean, Western society doesn't really care about anything but else but its selfish desires. It leaves you feeling very sick that you're a part of this and you're contributing to something that's just in action against either side, being allowed to just continue this just horrific display of humanity that's just a world away, basically. So is it a good documentary? Absolutely. It's very interesting to see this thing that you hear about on the news without just Googling and looking up raw footage. It's a nice little collection or story, so to speak. It almost plays out like a movie, and it almost feels like a movie, but in a ways, there's just no way special effects or anything could capture just the look of the dilapidated city, the distressed people, and just this sense that something is deeply wrong, going wrong in the world. It's a must watch really for anyone, and I think it sparked enough people's curiosity to kind of look. And you got to remember, this shit happened a long time ago, and what we're watching is not like it is happening right today, but it was actually right around the start of the war. So I mean, we are deep into this shit right now, and I think the geopolitics of the world are about to fucking explode, and I think humanity is gonna change a lot in the next very short time here. So I guess if anything in the future when people stumble across this video, my real point here was just to say that we think that this shit can't happen to us, but I mean, this is the world we live in, and everybody's gonna be touched by what's to come in the world, by the apocalyptic war certainly circulating the globe, and we're looking at the epicenter in this documentary. So yeah, that's my thoughts. And man, that pregnant chick with the burst belly, damn, rest in peace. That's harsh, bro. Really fucking harsh viewing here.